Let's get into a spoiler-free movie review now. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see that for this review, since we're talking about a boxing movie, I am wearing some boxing gloves. Or maybe you're watching a clip on TikTok or Instagram and thinking, why is he wearing boxing gloves? Because I get into my movie roles. I'm like a method actor movie reviewer. But let's talk about Creed 3, one of my most anticipated movies of the year. I love me some Michael B. Jordan, and Jonathan Majors has now probably entered my top 5, if not top 3 actors right now. So not of all time, but of actors who I'm interested in watching their movies right now. He is right up there because he is such a dynamic actor, and I'll get into more of how I feel about his range in movies now. But from the trailer going into it and seeing them two together, I thought this could be the most dramatic Creed movie yet, maybe the best one in the franchise. So let's talk about what Creed 3 is about. You have Adonis Creed back. The movie starts with him going out on top and then enjoying retirement, enjoying spending time with his family, and enjoying the life he is able to live because of what boxing has done for him. But then someone from his past comes a knockin', and it is Jonathan Majors' character named Damien. They were friends as kids. They were both up and coming in boxing, but then one night they both get involved in a situation and Damien ends up in jail. 20 years later is where you find him in Creed 3. He gets out and he just wants a shot at getting back into the ring. And that's where Adonis comes in, and you really learn more about his backstory, more about what actually happened to land him in prison. So I did enjoy that you didn't learn everything up front. I think that probably would have wasted a little bit of time. And instead you learn a little bit more and more about that night as you go along. So it adds a little bit of mystery to it. And right out of the gate, I felt like Jonathan Majors was such a great villain. And there's just something about the way he delivers his lines, something about the way he approaches a character, even thinking of what he did with Kang in Ant-Man. He just plays a villain so well, to the point to where you almost want to trust him. You think, oh, maybe he's not such a bad guy, but then boom, he comes with it. And he is this just utter force that you can't help but want to root against. You can't help but want to fight him and take him out. He does that so well. So there's so much credit that I give to Jonathan Majors and his performance in this entire movie. I almost feel that it overshadows anything that Michael B. Jordan did in this movie. Now, Michael B. Jordan not only starred in this movie, but he also directed it. And I kind of felt that it was his directorial debut. And there were some aspects of this movie, looking at it, that it felt like the first time he directed a movie. Because as a director, your job is to get the best performances out of all your actors. And I didn't really think he did a good job at that. And I know Rocky movies, Creed movies always have a little bit of cheesiness to them. They're just a tad like Cheese Whiz on every single Rocky movie. And this one, there were some lines in this movie that would be cheesy no matter who was delivering them. But I felt like the line they ended up using in the movie on some of these characters, it just sounded like bad acting. So it was bad delivery, and maybe all they needed was to do was take another take, or just do something to get a little bit better performances out of some of these actors. So that was really the main thing I picked out on his directing abilities. I guess after watching the trailer, I thought they were going to step up the drama a little bit more. And I don't know why I was going into a movie like this expecting like some really renowned performances from all of the actors, but I felt like Michael B. Jordan was a little bit flat. I've seen him put more life into the Creed character in the previous 2 films, and I felt like him as Adonis Creed was not as strong as Jonathan Majors as Damien. But overall, their relationship in the movie, their chemistry worked really well together. Was this movie hurt by the fact that Rocky Sylvester Stallone was not in this movie at all? Surprisingly, I don't really think it was. I don't really think it was necessary. This movie was very much the story of Adonis Creed. It was so focused on him, his moral dilemma, all of his past demons coming out to the forefront in this movie. I felt like it would have been muddied if Rocky would have been in this movie. So I don't think it was hurt by the fact that he did not have a supporting role in this movie. It was a little reminiscent of Rocky 1. There were some references to that movie. So I feel like if anything, it would have only benefited from a Rocky cameo. That's all you needed. I felt like it would have been dragged down by the fact of Rocky doing the same old thing of, I don't think you should fight in this, doing that whole role, doing the old wise guy, trying to protect Creed. I don't think we really needed that, so I don't think the movie was hurt by the fact that we didn't have Rocky. I just wanted something else to take it up on a bit of a more emotional level. And going into this movie, I was putting it at a 4.5 based on what I'd seen, based on the fact that I love both actors in the leading roles. It's just crazy to me how much the Creed movies have changed over two movies, and also just how much the entire idea of a fighting movie like this has changed since the original Rocky from the 70s, which I went back and watched just because I had a feeling there would be some kind of allusion to that movie, some kind of homage to that movie, since Rocky wasn't going to be in this one. Creed 3, like all the other Creed movies, like all the other Rocky movies, they are known for their montages. I thought this one was a great montage. I think that was due to the fact that you had a montage looking at the training of both Creed and Damien. So it felt like watching these two forces, and you can't wait till they come together. Creed 3 also had the best cinematography out of any Creed movie. I don't feel like that's saying a whole lot, but stylistically, there were some really cool shots, but there were some cool special effects, some cool camera tricks that they did in this movie to make it look a little bit different, especially when it came to the final match. And by the time we got to the final match, I realized this movie needed more boxing moments, so would have benefited with some more boxing thrown in there. The other thing I wasn't expecting to like as much as I did was the fashion choices in this movie. And maybe that's just because I myself in my personal life have been trying to dress with more intention and just trying to have my own sense of style, not try to be fancy in any way, but I am just very drawn to style and fashion right now. So that's all I look at on Instagram and TikTok. And when watching this movie, I was like, oh, they were a lot more intentional with the way Adonis Creed dressed and the way that Jonathan Majors dressed, kind of opposite to him. Adonis Creed in the movie obviously has a lot more money, so he was in very nice looking suits. He had this cool monochromatic look going on. And then Jonathan Majors just coming out of prison. Although I do question some of the things he was wearing, because some of that stuff looked expensive, but he had like the Carhartt worn jacket, the rugged looking beanie, the cool sweater. I really liked his style as well. So if I were to pick one of theirs to dress more like, I'd probably lean more towards Jonathan Majors. That's actually the look I've been going for. And also, as I sit here doing this review with boxing gloves, I have been doing boxing classes with Kelsey, and by no means am I a boxing expert or would even say I'm an aspiring boxer, but from doing those classes, I've learned some of the basics, some of the techniques, and I found that that was beneficial to me going into a Creed movie. Just knowing how much stamina it takes to just do a boxing class, I can only imagine having to do that in the ring for 12 rounds. So not only keeping your composure and keeping up your strength, but then having to take all those hits. Boxing is just a crazy sport that you go into it, and even if you win, you still get beat up and are probably out at least a few weeks. Some boxers take even up to months to recover from a fight. It's just knowing that physical strain that they put their bodies through, almost like voluntarily asking to be put into a car wreck. So I would say I had a little bit more understanding, or could just pick up on some of the techniques, and I'm like, hey, we learned a little bit of that in class. So if you were a fan of the first two Creed movies, would you be a fan of this one? I would say yes, unless you were only watching those movies because of Rocky. Then you would not be happy whatsoever. How does it compare to the other two Creed movies? I would say that the first one is still the best. To me, the second one took a step down. So I would go 1, 3, 2 in the ranking of the Creed movies. I went into this. In my head, it was a 4.5. I was needing it to go up on an emotional level, on a dramatic level to get me to that 5. That's just how much I love these movies, how much I think they're great for film right now. The theater was packed, and it brings together a lot of different film fans, the more casual fan you'll find at a Creed movie. So I enjoy that aspect of it, getting people out into the theater, because it's a spectacle, and it's a different kind of spectacle. It's a boxing match. It's sports. This reminded me of how my family, some of the only things we would bond over, as not just with my immediate family, but with my aunts and uncles, we would all go in and pay for a pay-per-view. And there's just some fun bonding experience that comes along with watching two people battle it out. Who's gonna win? That's what makes these movies so fun to me. So in my head, it was a 4.5. I wanted to take it up to a 5. Didn't quite get there because I felt it was a little bit cheesier than I was expecting. Maybe it's just because I have like a crush on Jonathan Majors right now, but He was my favorite character in this movie. I just needed something a little bit more to have me invested in Adonis Creed and his story and his journey throughout this entire franchise. With that performance from him, judging his directing abilities on his first film, I had to go down another 0.5. So for Creed 3, I would give it 4 out of 5 boxing gloves.